presentation, so if y'all want to, we can move to the side over here so everybody can see it. Let me turn that light on. Use some space back side. No, you can. Oh, okay. I don't want to lean on you.
All right, so I enjoyed the governor's conference with Councilman Crawford and Golden and McKinney, and we got to talk a lot in between meetings and all. And Councilman Golden asked me about the landfill, and I saw your last meeting where y'all were talking about it and worrying about where we're at. This is just a little presentation I got to show you how big of a situation this is and has been. And of course, Eddie jokes about having to haul, but back in the 90s, Eddie knows he and Lloyd pretty much had the landfill, and he knows working with T-Deck is not always the easiest and simplest thing you can do. Did you get that on? So that they don't run with anything really. But the city had the landfill, and one reason it is where it's at was when they were looking at property. I happened to be on the commission back in the 80s when we jointly looked for a site. Well, we looked for a site that was close to the city of Bolivar for your hauling purposes, so you don't have so far to haul. You know, and that city was in charge of running the landfill at the time, so it worked out good that they got it pretty close out here to the city because of downtime for your guys, sanitation department. So it worked out good that it went there. Not so good for Middleton and Whiteville and the other areas that have to haul garbage, but it worked out good for Bolivar. So in that site, which hopefully it'll come up here in a second.
Plug it back up.
Let's plug in. Let's try this.
Me and Jimmy got this and practice on this, and it worked perfect when nobody was here.
It did. It came on. So we didn't have an issue, did we, Julie? Here it comes. So in the plan when we originally got this landfill certified, used to, prior to this, we didn't have to have a certified landfill, and it was off of Sain Road going to Crestwood, that area there, which is now some ballparks. There were just trenches back in the day. You could put garbage in a trench and cover it up. Now you have to have a liner, and you have to have certain walls sloped, and you can go so high with it. And the county, the city had bailed garbage for years, and finally they started just dumping it in there. There's a lot of issues with bailing garbage in the center. So we had 4 phases originally planned out, and I'll show you those. That's phase 1. Phase 2. Phase 1's to the left. And once you finish this and cap it off at the elevation that the state will allow, then you have to have a grass cover on it. You have to keep it mowed, and you have monitoring wells around the complete facility that we monitor monthly to make sure that you don't get anything leaching out from the rainwater that runs through your garbage. That's phase 1. That's phase 3, phase 3. And what happened in somewhere around the early 2000s, the city and county were not on the same page on the monthly fee, and the state law said that the county government is responsible for the end use of garbage, not a city. So my understanding was the city gave it to the county and said Merry Christmas or whatever, and delivered all the books and the bills and the statements. So the county took it over. Originally, Robert Stegall was with GRW Cliff at one time, and he went into his own. Robert is a genius at landfills and other things that have to do with utilities. But Robert designed all this. Phase 1, 2, 3, and then phase 4 over there was going to be probably the final phase. I think there may be a little space past that, but not much. So Robert designed phase 1. I was here. Most of phase 2, we never had an issue. The state thinks a lot of Robert Stegall and what he tells them and what he does. So phase 2 filled up. The county was running phase 2 and 3. And you see phase 3 was working its way back to the highway. In that far left corner there of phase 3 is where the wall was to join phase 4. And somewhere, keep in mind, I didn't come in until September of 14, somewhere in 2011 or 12, I don't know what happened, previous administration, but they chose to go with another firm other than Robert Stegall, who designed this entire site and knew everything about it. They hired a firm out of Memphis, and they were going to do phase 4. So they bid it out. I think it was a little less than $1 million to do phase 4 and put the liner and all in. Well, I'll zoom in on phase 4 and I'll show you the problem child. That's phase 4. And at the top right is where phase 3, where you were just looking at it. So you see the lifts on the wall there, and about middle of your page you see a little pond. Well, what happened with this was, the way these things are constructed, and I'm no engineer, but I'm telling you all I know. You see the liner on the walls, top left and bottom right. This is a vinyl rubber material that cannot be breached. It has to be welded anytime you have a tear or anything in it. It's a pretty big deal to put those liners in. But the liner was put in, and then it's all the way across that bottom floor of that phase 4. And it can't, like I said, it can't be breached, and you have to have somewhere around 8 inches of clay cover on the floor, so when trucks and equipment's in there, it won't bust that liner. So they put phase 4 in, and that wall was all the way across where you see the little pond in the middle. I'll tell you what that is in just a second. So that is the divider between 2 and 3. And this is phase 4, pretty much. Don't hold me to it's not scaled or anything. And here's the problem. There's your phases. Now, at the bottom of a landfill, like phase 4 and the other phases, it's kind of like a septic, if you guys seen a septic line, where you got your perforated pipe and it's in gravel and liquid seeps down in there and then gravity flows. So this thing's designed to gravity flow from phase 1 through 2 to 3 and out to the middle of 4. There's phase 2 line, phase 1 line, this is close, not scale. And then you have a main line. Well, these 3 lines got blocked up in that wall of garbage. So the first thing you would do, any of us in here, you don't have to be an engineer, if you're going to run this line, now all those lines gravity flow down to the far left, you see that piece of equipment, and it goes into a holding tank where that fluid gets treated. So any of us in this room would locate the 3 lines from phase 2 and phase 3 to shoot an elevation to see where they're at. Because this phase 4 line has to gravity flow, and you know what I mean by gravity flow, downhill. It won't run uphill. So they never located the 3 lines from phase 2 and phase 3. They were blocked up in the garbage for over a year, I think, during construction. So they went ahead and they went off an as-built plan. An as-built plan, you folks know if you've done any building engineering projects, the as-built shows the elevation that it should have been built at. Now that don't mean it got built at that exact elevation. And it surely doesn't mean that after 25 years it didn't drop down in garbage and being compacted. So the state came in and said, you know, you got to locate them lines and look them up. You can't use phase 4. And this is somewhere in 13 or 14. So we bid this project out. We didn't get any bids for like 2 different bids because nobody wanted to go in there and handle this problem. So we used Darren Grantham to go in, and he's the one that dug into that wall right there and located those 3 lines. And those were located somewhere in 15. Once we got the lines located, the company that bid the job came in, and they were gonna, the project was to put a new line down, lower the liner, and hook those 3 into that one, so it would all gravity flow out and we could start using phase 4. When they came in and unstopped those 3 lines, leachate liquid just kept pouring out. And that thing was like kind of like a commode. As the level went down, as we pumped it down, it rose back up. They worked on this thing for weeks and weeks, and finally, because we hired Robert Stegall to come back on this project. Robert said it could be millions of gallons of leachate backed up in phase 2 and 3. So we couldn't handle taking a truck and pumping up out of that tank and hauling it over to the city sewer line. So Robert suggested doing a plan to run a permanent line from the tank, which is left of the screen, up 64 permanently into the city sewer system. That took months to bid that out, do a plan where it would continuously pump. And that was about a $400,000 deal right there, and about a year and a half to 2 years it took us to do that. So in this time, we got it where we could handle it. But you see what we fight most of the time during the year, it becomes a lake because it's so low holding water on that liner. So we've been pumping it out, coming up with a plan. Robert come up with a plan, and we had to have a secondary engineering company. We used A2H Engineering out of Memphis. They're also very good at landfills. So they came in and they were going to put that liner on there. Then the state said, no, it's not going to work because you can only have so many inches of head pressure, which head pressure is the elevation before it runs gravity flow. So they shut us down on that project. That's about the time we started hauling. The state did not shut the landfill down. We stopped putting garbage up there on phase 3 because of the danger of dozers sliding down that bank, because people were working down at the bottom of it. So we started hauling to Walnut. So A2H come up with a plan to bore a line under the liner without breaching that liner, come up in that little pool in the middle and hook all the lines up and let it flow under. That we worked on that for weeks. Then the state said, no, we're not gonna prove that, because what if it blocks up under that liner and you got garbage on it? Well, that makes sense to some point, but what are you gonna do if it's at the bottom of the garbage anyway, if the line blocks on top of the liner? So I can't tell you all the reasons why their theories. So we backed up, and we're at a plan now. A2H and Robert Stegall have gotten together, and after all this time, they're going to cut the liner open, which we can't do that. We got to have the liner company come in and do that. They got to be on the site. All this has got to be timed because they can't afford for it to rain or anything in there and get it all wet under the liner. So all that's got to be protected. So the plan is now they'll start with the 3 lines connect. They're going to cut that liner all the way back to where the equipment is, where that phase 4 line is. They're going to go in there and V-shape it to the depth they need to get gravity flow. And then they're going to have to put the liner back in the V, and then they're about to put those 3 lines, hook them up, and run that line down in there to get gravity flow at the right elevation. So it's basically kind of put in backwards. Once they get all that done, the state will approve us going ahead and using phase 4. Now the kicker is, and I've tried, and Julian knows, he's talked to me in depth about it. This phase 4, after, I don't know how long this will last. It was projected 15 to 20 years at one point. I don't know with the volume of garbage we have now. But once this phase 4 is full, we're always going to have to haul garbage somewhere, whether it's Walnut, McNairy County's hauling now. Theirs have been shut down. Fayette's landfill is full and shut down. They're hauling to Walnut. I mean, that's going to be a thing in the future. All of us. We're hauling garbage too. The county is. We're hauling every day. Garbage is a problem that's not going to go away. We can't. I mean, it's just going to be there. Julie and I talked to Pat Harcourt, one of the owners and engineers of A2H at the governor's conference, and Julian heard part of the conversation where they think they're going to get a green light. I called him this morning, told him I was coming before you guys and I need to update. He called me at about 5:15 and said, everything's good, we're going to meet Wednesday for like a pre-construction kind of deal. I keep my fingers crossed. I want this thing fixed as bad as y'all do. And we're hauling garbage too, just daily. So that's the wrap up on what the problem is. I wanted you guys to see it. You know what I know now. It's just a mistake by an engineering company that should have shot those lines to start with, and they'd known where to put the liner. So I don't know what else to tell you. I know it's expensive to haul garbage, but we're all doing it, and we want it. We want to fix it as bad as you do. But keep in mind the $9 everybody pays goes to run landfill or put your garbage at the end use place. It doesn't go to pay for anybody's hauling. The $9 does. So everybody's responsible, Whiteville, Middleton, everybody's responsible and have been for years to bring their garbage over to Bolivar, to put in the landfill. So a lot of rumors floating around out there and all this stuff. I talked to Miss Ray. I went over through this with her back some time ago to explain, but the picture I think helps a little bit to know where we're at and what's going on. I'll ask Julian to go to the meeting Wednesday with us, so he can keep y'all informed of what's going on, because y'all have the biggest volume of garbage, other than the county. So, but all of our convenience centers have never shut down. They're all running. The landfill's open. We're just not putting garbage in there, but we've got the green boxes and all there at the landfill. So, are there any questions? Anything I might could answer for you?
Questions from anybody?
Let me check on this. You said now we are hauling it into Wanted, Mississippi.
Yeah.
Okay. Is Wanted, Mississippi landfill? I've never been down there. So is that a big, huge? Because you got talking about different towns are going into Wanted.
Right.
How long would that?
I asked the guy. I haven't been down there, but I asked him, and they bought, I think, another 200 acres. It's huge.
Okay.
That's all they do is garbage business. And they don't take, we work bailing garbage. They don't, I told you they don't take bales. They'll take the bales, but they don't put them in their landfill. They have to open them all back up, and then they compact their garbage. So there's no need to bail anymore, if they're not going to use them.
Well, another question there. I know we are hauling, City of Bolivar is hauling down in Wanted, Mississippi. And I was going to ask one question, but I guess I'm going to rephrase it or reword it. Do we have a time frame when the landfill will be in full operation? Do we have kind of like a time frame, or we just?
They told me probably 6 to 8 weeks back when we started hauling to Walnut, and that's the perfect storm, and it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And it was really, it's like nothing I can do. TDEC is TDEC. One thing they've worked with us really well is, the reason is, like anything we do at that landfill, they have to approve the plans. They have to be on site to make sure it goes in right. They have a lot of responsibility as TDEC. We have to have permits to pay them. And my question to them was, where were you when this thing went in bad, when it went in backwards? So they've admitted they had a lapse.
So the problem come in after Stegall was no longer there. That's where the problem started.
Right. It was another firm out of Memphis that was hired to do phase 4. And the liner company has met with us on site to work all this out. And they said the company out of Mississippi that built this phase 4 were farmers. And they built it with farm equipment. They'd never built a landfill before.
I got a question, Jimmy. Is it possible that we could find another site? Out of all the money gonna take to fix this one, it's all about having a big hole, right? And digging it out or making another one somewhere in our county?
I don't think with the new regulations we'll ever have another landfill in Hardeman County. And the reason we got to finish this one off is you have to close it. Mm-hmm. So now you got to have the cover over it, and so whatever we do, we got to spend a bunch of money to close it. So we might as well use it.
Yeah. Well, I know you say after so many years we gonna have to do something else anyway. It maybe last 15 years, and
hopefully. So
we got to be looking for some other plan,
and
some other hole or whatever.
It's just too expensive to get in the landfill business again. No, I don't think there are. I may be telling you wrong. I don't think there are about 6 rural owned left. And everybody used to have a landfill, but now it's just too expensive. So only the big boys are surviving landfill business. and they do so much volume that they can survive. But no rural counties that I know of are doing any more, not putting new ones in. So it's a problem. It's going to be a problem here on out.
So I guess you're saying that once this closed out here in Bolivar, that we're gonna have to start hauling it somewhere else. I'm assuming you'll be wanted. I'm assuming now. I don't know. You know, I'm just assuming. Yeah, okay. I'm just assuming that that's where it's gonna be.
There's several in Memphis, but I think Walnut's probably better.
Well, it would be
priced.
close. Yeah.
And especially for like the south part of the county, it's a lot closer. It's closer to Middleton than it is to Bolivar. So.
How much is wanted charging us to haul, not haul like
Take it.
trash, garbage, but to dispose of it down there? You have any idea?
I believe it's $25 a ton, but don't hold me to that.
25
It's
ton.
around 25 because we were at 22. We may be at 24 now.
Now the county pays.
Correct.
Yeah, we pay all that. We're paying- It's costing us about $30,000 a month.
Well, say the county pay it, we pay it.
Well,
And
it
then
comes out of your $9.
So then they said it.
$9 I'm saying. So, yeah,
County and
none of the city.
Indirectly, I guess.
Nobody has to pay down there. We pay the tab for all the, everything in the county with the $9. That's where that money goes.
So, what would you think, or what would you say, how much money have we wasted since the Stegall left?
Well, we wasted money by, of course, having a problem in phase 4. But as far as hauling in Walnut, we're not really wasting money, because we're just buying time off this sale.
Right, but I'm
We were
talking
putting it in
about
there.
without landfill, I'm talking about without landfill.
Oh, probably that move of letting Robert Stegall go probably cost us $500,000. At least that much.
You think we have it going by the end of the year? Between now and the end of the year?
Boy, Eddie, hold your ears. They have told us that it could be fixed as quick as a couple weeks. We just gotta get everybody there. We have to orchestrate the liner company being there on site. TX gotta be there on site. Construction's gotta be there on site. You gotta have third-party inspectors on site. You gotta have people testing on site. All that's gotta be done. Once it gets done, it's not a big deal. It's probably 200 feet across that thing. But everybody's gotta be there at the same time because they won't let you cut it and then say, well, the liner people are coming next week. It don't work like that. I mean, you know, the weather's gotta be perfect. It's gotta be dry. It's a complicated deal that I inherited. I didn't make. None of us did.
Well, is there any way possible that you can come before the council, not every month? You know, I'm not asking for every month. Be nice to have, but I'm not asking for that. But every quarterly, or when you present something to the county commissioner, you can come and present something to, just give it an update, because we on live on social media. So when you discuss that, then people will hear this,
Right.
and then we won't be getting as many calls.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to hear, which is good, we hear from the mayor, which that's fine. But since this is a county, I guess, county problem, I think it should come from the county, you know. So just every now and then, you
Yeah,
know,
I
if you
will.
can do that,
And like
you
I
know,
said-
that will help us out
Yeah,
tremendously.
Mayor McTizzle can go with me Wednesday or when the meeting's scheduled. Maybe he can send y'all out an email and say, we're gonna start on the project or whatever, let you know that it's going on. But the only difference is the garbage is not ending up there, it's going to Walnut.
Right.
But all of our other services are running, we just gotta haul Walnut. So, and I, you know, like I said, I hate it as bad as anybody. I wish it would've been done back last November, December when we planned it. So,
Well, I say I appreciate you coming out, because, you know, it was, you know, it's education for us, because we wasn't aware of what you presented here. You know, and then showing it on social media would make it, you know, people can see for themselves. So that's why I was saying maybe, you know, every now and then the county mayor come here and present it like you do at the county commission. That would just makes it much easier, you know.
If we-
And I appreciate you coming.
If we have any hiccups between now and your next meeting, maybe we can get, A2H or one of the engineers to come and tell you why we didn't get it done between now and the next. I hope it's between now and the next one. I want to get that off my plate. That's the job.
Right. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you much, Sain. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Did you have a question? Okay. Thank you much, Sain. Appreciate you for coming and updating us on that. That's all our old business. On the new business, got the first reading of ordinance 21003 to amend Title 4, Chapter 2, Section 4215 of the Bolivar Municipal Code to establish holidays for the city of Bolivar. Basically, if you guys know, federal government added Juneteenth as a federal